Chair of the Regional Economic Development Council. Tell me a little bit about, there's been some criticism from people up here that the configuration of the North Country's council is, some people said it's too big, it should be closer to Syracuse. There's just been some chatter about that. What do you think?
Well, we've listened very carefully to that. I think the tough thing is trying to break down the state in manageable geographical areas, and I think that the governor is always open to listening to some of the issues and the adjustments that come up. But in the end, I think a large wholesale change might not be practical. One thing that as I've gone around the state, there are times when I'll hear input from one entity about wanting to change some of the boundaries, and then hear just the opposite from another entity in different areas. So I don't think there's an overall consensus on that. The governor has been excellent in terms of listening to what the local governing bodies, what their priorities are, and trying to do the very best he can to support that. But at this point, there are no planned changes to at least the boundaries that we have at this point. But keep in mind, the councils have not been announced yet. They will be announced in the future. As always, there's always going to be some flexibility and opportunities to listen. And all we care about is that in the end, the decisions that we make collectively as a state end up adding to the capacity of the economy of New York. We want to create jobs. We want to create jobs. We want to create economic vibrancy and vitality. However we do that is a number one goal, and I think we can work through any issues or concerns with some of the boundaries. I think in the end, after they're announced, once they're up and running, I'm confident with working with local leadership, we can resolve any issues.
Do you know a time frame when they might?
Well, the governor is going to announce the councils when he is ready. The governor's number one priority right now is the legislative challenges and priorities for the rest of the session. So the most important thing for our team right now, supporting the governor, is the governor's going forward with the legislative priorities, working with the Assembly and Senate. At that point, between now and the end of the session, the governor will decide when he's ready to announce the regional councils. We are working very hard on those. We've had great input from around the state. There's been an awful lot of work that's been done thus far. And I think what the governor does not want to do is dilute his energy right now. He is focused on issues. He mentioned those. The tax cap is one, obviously, marriage equality, all the major issues of the legislature. The legislature is back next week, and I think between next week and the end of the session, a lot of work. And when the governor is prepared, he's going to make those announcements. Our job is to do all the work to support the governor, and then when he's ready to make that announcement, we'll be off and running.
Just one more, I promise.
Okay, go ahead.
One of the legislative things is the property tax cap. I mean, we're here announcing some new homes. Do you think, what do you think about that fight?
Well, first of all, the one thing that chases people out of New York State to live elsewhere or to take their businesses out of New York State is the very heavy burden of property taxes. We all acknowledge the Assembly, the Senate, clearly being led by the governor, that we have to do something with the issue of property tax in New York State. The governor supported a property tax cap throughout his campaign. He has been very firm on that. He is working to make that a reality. And what it comes down to is we all have to make financial decisions to live within our means. We have to sometimes do things differently. And when you hear all the hue and cry about what we can and can't do if a property tax cap is enacted, we have to make decisions. The governor himself has led the cuts in state government, 10% cut in state operations. He never asked anybody to cut even close. He has cut 5 times more in his own backyard, more than he's asked anybody else to cut. And state government is going to function superbly well with those cuts. So what he's asking for is everyone is to look at themselves inside, and so we all collectively work together to reduce the tax burden. So we keep people in New York State, we draw people and businesses to New York State, and keep the businesses that we have here. So it is critically important. We cannot end up becoming one of the most highly taxed states in the union. That has to change. And it changes with decisions such as the governor's with the property tax in conjunction with the legislature, and it changes with all of us realizing we can't keep going down the same road.
And housing, with the announcement today, how important is Fort Drum to the state?
This is a good news day. Governor Cuomo wanted to be here himself. This is critically important. This is a $13 million investment in very tough economic times. It happened because Local leadership came together. All the various entities that we mentioned came together and put funding together in a package to show the state that how important it was to Watertown and Jefferson County and North Country. And thanks to the governor and a team at DHCR, we have a major investment from the state. And what this results in is just under 100 housing units that will probably primarily serve the families of the 10th Mountain Division, who will be redeployed back here. It's critically important to support men and women who serve our country. It creates jobs. It's a great investment in the North Country and right here in Watertown in a very, very tough time. It's a great win. And I think if I just say, give an example or a metaphor, the teamwork that you see with this project made it happen. Everybody coming together and putting something in that show how important it was. Local leadership, all local entities in the state. And I apply the same principles to our budget process. We're today here with Assemblywoman Russell and Blankenbush, and then we had Senator Ritchie. You know, the governor, the Senate, and the Assembly have an on-time budget in New York State. Both houses, Democrats, Republicans, working together, on-time budget, first time in, 5 years. That in itself has created a sense of confidence locally and across the state that we have a budget on time, government is working, and I think this is one more example of government working, state government, local entities. To me, it's just a great success story. I'm proud to be a part of it, to be here. And the governor, this is one of his top priorities. He wanted to be here today. His schedule changed, he couldn't. But this is something that is so important. And the Development Authority of the North Country, which is one of the partners in this housing, was started by Governor Cuomo's father, the former Governor Mario Cuomo, and served for about last 25 years, was put together by former Governor Cuomo to help with the development and the expansion of Fort Drum. And Fort Drum today is one of the most incredibly important economic drivers for this region. $2 billion every year economically into this region, thanks to Fort Drum. They are a jewel. They are an entity that not only provides great economic vitality to Watertown and Jefferson County and North Country, but it houses the men and women of the 10th Mountain Division, who every time I read or hear about casualties, either in Afghanistan or Iraq, it seems to be the 10th Mountain Division has been tremendously impacted. We owe our military the support. We owe those men and women, when they come back here, and their families, to have safe, affordable, clean housing available to them. So everybody came together and focused on supporting the men and women of the military. It's a great day. This is one of these really feel-good victories for everybody. And we're just, I'll speak for the governor. We are proud to be part of this.